This is your girl, Vivian, and we are having another episode.
Yeah, excited.
Yes, of the Art, Heart, and Heart podcast. Tafadhali karibuni sana. Come on in. We need you here as one of us. Because you know the topics here zinaitwa hot topics.
Yes.
Yani tunafanya watu wakienda huku tunaenda huku. Yani disrupting.
Yeah.
Yes, disrupting that space and coming in with fresh ideas full of light. Yeah, so that's everything that we're about here at the Art Hub podcast. As always, I have the ever lovely coach Lydia Ngina, and of course she's going to introduce herself before I introduce someone special.
So hi guys, my name is Lydia Ngina. I consider myself to be a mantra for people and idea, a midwife rather, for people and ideas, an encourager, but also an optimist. Then what I do is that I am an author, a life coach, and a public speaker. So I'm happy to be here as always.
Fantastic. And then our guest of the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Dr. Carol. And perhaps Dr. Carol, I think when people hear from you, tell Vivian and wanasema Vivian ulisahau kusema, you know.
Seme yote. Okay, so my name is Dr. Carol. I am a mom first and foremost because that really informs what I do.
Yes.
As my job.
Yes.
So I am a mom. I have a 13-year-old son. I am also a therapist, and I have been working with families for close to 20 years now. When I start counting from my internship. Okay, so please don't calculate my age. Let's just keep going. Yes. And then I also work as a parent coach, which is something I started doing 5 years ago. So I transitioned completely from working with children. There are many people working with kids, and I thought my niche really is parents. I saw the need there, I saw the pain there, I saw the struggles there, and I decided, let me just, get to that
Specialize,
space.
yeah.
Yes. But the beginning of this year, I have been again being reeled back in to work with kids. And so I thought, rather than work again with them separately, now I'm developing programs for wellness programs for children and their parents. And parents here is anyone who is in a nurturing space.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. You know, as you were speaking, I was thinking about something I read, and I think I mentioned it earlier, that, we find business coaches, but we never find coaches to help us with our hearts and our minds and just processing that and getting to understand that space. And if you really think about it, they're the biggest determinants of so many things.
It's true.
Because, like that book I was telling you about, As a Man Thinketh. So, it's that active choice. So what drives that active choice?
Yeah.
So I just felt that, and I was like, the call is on.
Yes,
we
it
need
is.
to be so deliberate about that.
Yes.
And not just leave it to chance. Because the fruit and the outcome of that is so impactful.
Exactly. You're
It's
right.
like, hey, what are we going to do? But that's why Dr. Carol is here.
You know. Yeah.
And Dr. Carol and I just met in a very interesting way. I will share that with you later. If you want to know, stick here. And then I will tell you. But just as we get right into it, because parenting is a thing.
It is.
It is a thing that no one trains you at. Yet it's a 24-hour job.
24-hour, 365. Yes. Every living breath.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even for people who are not parents actively, what you said, in a nurturing space. So I guess that also involves teachers, just people who are bringing up others. Mentoring,
coaches, Sunday school teachers.
Yes.
As long as you're in that space where you are nurturing somebody who is...
who is coming up.
Yeah. Yes.
And of course, one of the spaces I'll start in, because even for me, as I'm a parent, I have a beautiful 12-year-old girl turning 13 soon. And I mean, as a parent, one of the things you're always thinking, what am am I supposed to be doing now?
Yeah.
So now you have a child, they're getting now into adolescence, they're getting into teenage, how do you handle that space? And even before we got here, you said something like, I asked, is it harder is it more difficult to parent a child now? And you are like, of course, you're competing with 150 million people.
At the click of a button, So if you click 2 buttons, that's 300 million teachers. So you're competing with 150 million teachers.
Yes. So even as we get into that space, trying to understand, number one, as a person, what led you into that space?
Yeah, wow. Many reasons, because I trained as a psychologist, counseling psychologist, and the people who were brought into my space initially were children. Big reason, your kid is having issues, take them to Carol or Dr. Carol or Auntie Carol. Yes, muongeleshe. In fact, that's the word. And then hebu ongeleshe huyo mtoto wangu, anasumbua or something like that. So I got into this space working with kids, not necessarily because I was a specialized child therapist, but because in my circles they knew that's what I do. So a lot of my initial experience, and even up to now, is really people not necessarily from a professional clinical space, but it's more of, my child is struggling with this, can you so because I am trained, because I have the skills, I will use my skills, whether it's a child or I mean, whether it's someone I know, whether it's a professional setting. So they will come into my space and, first session, second, third session, we're doing really well. You really get to the heart of a child when you provide the right environment. And then, I would see, the behaviors would change, of course, because I am providing a certain specific environment, to see them transform, the behaviors change, happier, less of the issues they were experiencing. So, but then, 2-3 months down the line, they're back. They're back. And for me, initially, it was very hard for me to, in fact, I thought I was failing. I was like, what am I doing wrong? And especially because when I started, I didn't have I didn't have a child of my own. But then I began, as of course, the more I read, the more I research, the more I work with them, I realized, it is the same environment that initially caused them to come into therapy that they are going back to. If the environment doesn't change, doesn't matter how perfect the seed is or how much, whatever water you put and all, if the environment is the same, then there's not going to be growth. There's not going to be change. And so I completely transitioned my work and I looked around and I realized there are many people who can see children. I decided, let me just really focus on working with parents. And so the work that I do with parents is very different. And I know there are many parenting programs. And I find that a lot of them give you the to-dos, the list of strategies and tools, which are amazing, by the way. But they don't really show us how to be. Yes, we are all about doing, but we don't know how to be. And for me, how to be is what kind of environment. Okay, so you can say, you can give them this kind of consequence or this and that. Fine, that's all good. But how are you showing up in your parenting? And so I really focus on that. And given my therapy background, then I'm able to really marry those two, the coaching. I'm also a trained teacher, so I also have, and I love to give information as well. So yes, so that's how I got into this space. And so it's one thing, when I started parent coaching before I had a child, and then it was a whole other thing.
The dynamic shifted.
Oh my gosh, they shifted, because I was talking to parents from here, like, you guys, you're not doing one, until I got my own child. Then I was like, what? Kuna theory?
Na kuna
practice. Kuna practice. And so I think having my own child and experiencing also a lot of life issues, because I'm also in a co-parenting space, has given me a lot of compassion for parents in different spaces. And so it's interesting that a lot of programs out there really are tailored towards parents in a conventional setting. There's a mom, there's a dad, there's a role of the mom, there's a role of the dad. And sometimes you if you're not in that kind of situation, you kind of just feel like you're
lost.
You're lost. You zone out. You're like, But what I've realized is that because I get parents of all, even the ones in conventional setting, it's still the same thing. How are you showing up? Who are you being? You know, so I'm really big on parenting consciously.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Tell me, I'm curious when you said environment. You're talking about internal environment. You're talking about me as a parent, regardless whether I'm single or not.
Yes.
It's my internal environment.
Yes. Who are you being? In fact, my program initially, I called it Being Parenting, BEING. So there's a lot of doing, but who are you being? How are you showing up? So you're very right about the internal environment. And internal environment, you know, I have a book also, Parenting with Your Heart in Mind. And so we talk about what's in your heart, you know, and that's the internal environment. And I say, you know, a lot of the times when we're interacting with our children, when they were having a power struggle or we don't know what to do, there is background music that is playing and we are not aware of.
Yeah.
So I usually say,
Dr. Carol is going to finish
today. So we're always dancing to some background music. And that background music could be fear, could be guilt, could be our own experiences,
Shame.
our own trauma, could be shame, you know, could be our own ego. You know, how is this child making me look right now? You know? Yes. And so when the noise is a lot, so we become parents who are reactive. So the yellers, the immediate chapper, the 2-hour lecture. Hello, who does the 2-hour lecture?
My daughter is somewhere in the room.
Yeah.
She's remembering if I've done a 2-hour lecture.
My son tells me, Mom, it's enough. It's enough I've had. You know, When we do those things mostly reactively, it's because of the background music.
Yeah.
It's because of the shame, you know, so the embarrassment, the anger, the fear, the guilt. I've been away, my goodness. How is this child behaving? I've been away. It's because I've been away. It's because I'm raising my child in a single parent home. It's because, you know, we all, and so that's the background music. And so what I do as a parent coach, I invite parents to just step back, you know, and ask, what's going on with me in this moment?
Yes.
In this moment, because that's what will now determine whether I will go on to react or to respond.
Yeah.
And so I really invite parents to be parents who are responding, which is a muscle that we don't have as humans. Okay, to just be able to step back. And I was telling you earlier, Lydia, that one of my biggest tools in parenting is to breathe. See, even you breathe. There's such power in breathing, you know, we don't know. There's power in breathing. Just breathe in and out. Allow the oxygen to get into your brain and calm that nervous system. Because when your nervous system is calmer, you make better decisions. And eventually, your children benefit because you are a more wholesome, you are a less reactive. So at the end of the day, I tell parents, my job is to help you create healthy relationships with their children by just giving you tools on how to show up in the moment.
And it's interesting you say that because it's actually been statistically proven that the thing that parents bring, they teach us primarily is how to treat ourselves and how to treat others. So...
Oh, wow.
And the reason we struggle as adults is because no one taught us how to treat ourselves. We don't know. We play to the background music because we are so used to it. And also, that's what, it's the most familiar and it's what we were taught. It's what we were told. So that's what you play to and you're not necessarily making very conscious choices. Okay, I'm feeling this way, let me breathe and then make a better quality choices. Which eventually, if you continue with that, dancing to that negative tune, you end up passing it on to the next generation. And it becomes now what we are calling generational curses and generational madness. The cycle continues. So that's why we need people who will pause, breathe. Okay, I'm not about to damage my child. Let me even go to the loo for a second. Let me collect myself so that then I'm able to, nurture, steward that moment of...
And you know, there's when you were talking about being a parent, you know, I felt that at the core because you see, in the setup of being a parent is you don't always have the time to package. In fact, you have no time to package. Let's just call it as it is. because you're in close proximity all the time.
Yes.
So firstly, you're two humans. Then you have personality. In fact,
Clashes.
you reminded me. I told you I'm studying psychology, and so my therapist sent me personality tests. And I was a little bit adamant because I was like, but you know, personality tests, they put you in a box. It's like, no, they just give you.
Yeah.
I am.
Fighting.
Just do the test first. They gauge you. I knew I was losing it. But I said, let me just try, But that's the thing. Like, these are two different souls.
Humans.
And also measuring like what's the success gauge.
Yes.
Yeah, when you're raising your child, because there is like how as we were raised up is like, unajua mtoto wangu ni daktari.
That's the measure.
That's the measure.
Success. Yeah.
So also, how do we understand the success measure as parents? Because I think also that plays out something.
Yes.
Because you're so afraid of your child failing.
Yes.
Failing.
In quotes.
They reflect
Yet you're even failing. Your parents failed. So I don't know what you're even afraid of. You should
You're just not self-aware. Let's just put it
that
Absolutely.
failing, and just how do we know what is the proper success measure?
I think for one, just drop the ideal.
Just
Drop the ideal. And I tell parents, there's the ideal, but then there's of course there are basics.
Yes.
And for me, when I'm talking to parents, let's first of all just talk about human beings. Let's raise human beings. Someone who is kind, because again, we were raised in a space where very competitive, and it's still competitive.
Yes.
It's cutthroat.
Yes.
It's grades over
everything.
being. And so we are always competing, and it's losing. We lose that humanness in us. And so I say, let's first of all just step back and figure out how to raise humans. Of course, we have standards. We can't just drop everything and say, let me just raise a human being who is kind and nice and lovey-dovey. But I also tell parents to question the why behind the goals that they have for their children, because a lot of it also is baggage driven. Okay, so actually one of the things we do is a values clarification exercise, where now at the end of the day you have your top 10 values that are, at least you can start with. They might change, but at least let's start somewhere, because we are all over the place trying to parent like the Joneses, or in Kenyan version is the Kamaus and the Tisos, and
trying to keep up.
Keeping up with them, and then that becomes, then you're all over the place. Then again, that becomes your background music. A lot of comparison. And so for me is heal fast, because we all have spaces of healing, and by healing it's not a complete space. It's opening yourself up, when you're talking about self-awareness, opening yourself up to know, what are my triggers, what are some of these things. And the foundation quote for the work that I do is this: unless you are fulfilled, you will use your children to complete you. You will teach them. I haven't finished. You will teach them.
This is how we breathe.
Yes, please.
You will teach them how to live with your unacknowledged fears. Unacknowledged. So they are fears. We are not even acknowledging that those are fears. It's important that we acknowledge. Rejected emptiness. So there's a lot of emptiness we are walking around with from the rejections in relationships, at work. Rejection when you're in class 5 and you are not part of the cool crowd. We have carried those things. We haven't processed them. And then number 3, forgotten lies. And we teach our children to live with our forgotten lies. And those lies are things that we have, maybe traumas, whatever things that happened in our childhood. And then you see the way you're saying, our parents, they're the ones who guide how we treat ourselves. So what do you conclude about yourself when you go through rejection when you're young, or when you go through abuse when you're young? I'm not good enough. It's my fault. I'm alone. So we carry those their lies, which are forgotten. And this is how this author finishes, because she's a parenting coach and a psychologist, and she says, all the while unaware that we are doing so. So it's one thing for you to do those things with awareness. By the way, it's beautiful when you do it with awareness, because we are not healed, and therefore, but with awareness, my goodness, then you have something to work with. The danger is when we are unaware. And so that's why I'm so passionate about helping parents to bring to awareness those things, and one step at a time. In fact, I say one self-compassionate step at a time.
I love that.
Because we'll never stop growing. We'll never stop yelling at our kids. Getting triggered. But with awareness, you know when to stop yourself. With awareness,
and even when to apologize.
When to apologize. With awareness, you tell yourself, I'm going to do differently next time. Okay, I'm stressed. This is going on with me and all that. But I'm giving myself compassion. Because when I do that, then I have the energy and the confidence to do things differently.
So it's not a journey of perfection, so to speak. It's just a journey of self-awareness and figuring out. The goal is not perfection. The goal is just to move with life in a healthier way.
Absolutely.
The goal is to raise healthier humans. One, yourself, be a healthier mom, a parent, and a healthier child. That's it. Emotionally specific and emotionally healthy.
And one of the spaces that we are raising our kids, like right now, those dynamics that you're talking about, co-parenting, single parent, and
parents traveling a lot. Parents parenting outside, like out of town, out of the country. I work with those kinds of parents. Their kids are not with them. So sorry I cut you off.
But it's good you've described every
the different
dynamics, because I feel like in the times and era that we are living in, and our, we had a guest who was talking about the love bucket. So this love bucket, are we filling it with love? Things that speak love. Because there'll always be things to come in, like you're talking about, sort of like Robert. So someone has told you ulichelewa. Another one, you didn't hand over this on time. Just things, life, how it is.
Life things,
You forgot to pack for me my break. You forgot to pick me. You picked me up 1 hour late. And you're dealing with your boss, and you're dealing with this job. You're trying to manage it. You're trying to educate your child. And the dynamics right now around parenting, I feel like they are so heavy on the parent.
That's true.
And everyone is literally fighting for their life.
Yes.
The parent with the child, the parent who's not actively staying with the child, but is probably parenting from, maybe that co-parent arrangement.
Online parenting.
Online parenting. The step parent and how that
the blended family
space,
situation.
The parent who, just maybe divorced or separated, and now your kids were used to this kind of life. Now you're wondering, you gonna shift, what's gonna happen, and so you're trying to rediscover so many things as you're trying to parent. So I don't know which is the one we will start with, because they are all there.
Let me tell you, and I sit down with parents in the different situations, and I give them space to talk about where they are at and all that. Then I tell, okay, at the end of the day, I want to deal with you as a human being. So, and that's how we should look at it. Because sometimes, in many cases, those different situations sometimes act as not a mirror. It's the lenses through which we are. So that actually becomes our background music. Okay, and therefore we are not objective. Okay, but when you work on yourself, when you continue on the healing process, the self-awareness process, you can parent effectively in any situation. Because you're removing the scales. You're removing the scales. So I am not those ones of there's a specific thing for co-parents and that specific thing. If you're working on yourself, and that's what I talk about this research a lot, that resilient children have been found to have 2 unmistakable characteristics. A stable adult in their lives, a stable supportive adult in their lives, and a set of skills that they learn along the way.
Oh, wow.
Like it, and you see, this research was done in I think an island in Hawaii, and there are many other studies that have been done of children who grow up in very toxic environments, very toxic, and they follow them, all the way. And this was a 40-year study, and the 40-year study. So at the end of 40 years, they wanted to see how these kids were doing. Wow. So 2/3, of course, ended up, with mental health issues, because the environments were very toxic. Yeah. There was a lot of mental health issues, family fights and all that. It was just toxic. So 2/3, of course, it's just natural. That's the environment they grew in. But there was a third, and they went on to excel. And so they wanted to find out, what is it that these kids had in common, and they found those two things. Wow. A stable adult. And so I tell parents, whichever space you're in, commit to being that stable adult in your child's life. If you can be that stable adult, and there are many ways we can do it, but then the most important is to work on yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So when I a parent is in Malaysia and their child is here, I equip you to be a stable adult in their lives. Yes. So that when you're talking on the phone, or when you're having a conversation via Zoom or whatever, and the child is crying, how do you handle that? Yes. Show up for them. Just be there and listen to what. Like, it's in those little things. Okay. It's very difficult, because for parents like that, and in many different situations like the ones we've just talked about, we sometimes think the measure of our success is when our kids are doing well in the moment. Like they're doing well in school, they're doing well in sports, they're doing well. At least they're turning out okay, But that's all we want to see. So even our kids learn, let me show. Let me just, perform and go along. But are we really taking care of their emotional aspect, the processes? It's okay. Let them cry. Let them say, "Mommy, I miss you," and just see. I know parents who just sometimes, the child falls asleep, on video, and like, it's not that we are saying you can go look for jobs out there, but life happens. Yes. And you find yourself in those situations. You can still parent.
Yes. In fact, one of the things that's coming to mind is that the best gift you can give your child is a healthier you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a healthier you.
It's the greatest gift.
Yeah. The whole dynamic around parenting, if I look at our culture, it's based on, a certain number of kids. So there was that. Like, our parents had sometimes many children. Our grandparents, it's not even good.
Polygamous families and all that.
Siku ya Russian ndio unajua, kumbe you are my cousin.
I know, right? And you see, like, all the noses look alike. We are related. You see that nose everyone has.
So there's that, and just looking at our cultures, because that part, and with the course that we are doing, that aspect of culture, it's really and even the space of this podcast is just to bring in also a disruptive culture, whereby, okay, this is what, and I mean, this as a psychologist, nature and nurture. So this is what I have grown up in. This is what I know. However, I don't like some elements of this. And so doing that from a point of maybe it's not rebellion, because you still have your family, you have your extended family, you're trying to parent differently. Like when I was telling you, I homeschool, and then you brought, like, I really had a lot of conflict by the time I was making that decision. And I remember at some point an auntie of mine said, "You are destroying your child's life." And by that time, I had that understanding of, I know this decision is not going to be
accepted. People will not applaud.
And the only thing I said, well, number one, it's my child. Yes, just also to put some boundaries there. And then I said, however, if you have any material, because she's a teacher in public school. So she says there are some dynamics of education and all these things. And I mean, I am not 100% like the way you were talking about it, but I said, if you have any data, kindly share with me.
And
then
that's beautiful.
I can look further and assess my decision. Right? So that's as we're trying to also be more proactive about what we're exposing our children to, how our communities function, you know, what you're talking about, like how we've also, it's like we've materialized the society so much, you know, whereby it's like bora kona mshahara, bora kona pesa, so it's so transactional, gari, you know, so that's when you're celebrated. So you're unlearning this, and then you're trying to inculcate something completely new to your child, and you're still a member of a community. So those dynamics, you know, how what's the best way to sort of like,
and oh my gosh, that's true. And yeah, when you are doing something disruptive or unconforming, definitely there's going to be a lot of resistance. I still go back to, you know, a clarity of values, you know, for me, and in our coaching sessions, we call it following your scent, you know, just what's your scent? You know, there are people who don't chapa, that's their scent. And there are those who they swear by the road, you know, that's their scent. But where is it coming from? You know, so it's important. Again, it's just back to self-awareness and healing, because that gives you confidence. And also knowing that parenting is a journey of faith. It's a journey of faith.
can say that
We
again.
can't, there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees. So one of the things that, you know, a quote again is someone said, if parenting had a GPS, it would mostly read recalibrating. Recalibrating.
That's so true. A good one.
It's so true.
Yeah, we are forever evaluating and reevaluating. And who says one method is, you know, is the best? That's why you still go back to yourself. And for us, people of faith, we know that we can draw from the greatest parent of all, you know, who we can draw from him. I mean, sometimes I have a back and forth with my son in the middle of it when he's telling me, but mom, it's on Google, you know, Google says this and that, and I'm listening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? And in that moment, I'm just praying. I'm like, God, wisdom. Wisdom. Breathe in and out. Wisdom, you know,
think.
And somehow, you know, as long as I'm not in a hurry to fix this, and it's another thing, you know, I talk about carpenter parenting and farmer parenting. Most of us are carpenter parents, so fixing, because you want the beautiful structure for
here
the
and
whole
now
world to see here and now. But farmer parenting is just farmers, you guys. I mean, you don't have guarantee, but that doesn't stop you from putting in the work.
And I like that farming because then it helps you see that you can actually to live comfortably with unresolved issues. It's unresolved.
Exactly.
I don't have to resolve it today or now or even 3 years from now. I just learn to live comfortably with the unresolved aspect of this relationship. So I like that idea of farmer parenting because one of the things is to learn how to live with the unresolved issues. It's part of your life. You just say that in this relationship, this one is unresolved. I'm not going to fix it now. And there's no solution now. So then you allow yourself to be patient with that, and eventually the solution will come.
It does.
It comes. It floats.
And it will be different from probably what you were thinking. Again, from that place of unless you are fulfilled, you'll use your children to complete you. Sometimes you realize, oh, this is me, you know.
Yes.
And sometimes you'll be like, okay, let me just release it for now and just watch things. And I think it gets more realistic as they get into teenage.
Yes.
You know? And they, you know, there's this generation that speak up, obey your thirst, self-aware, you know, do you and all that. And we are raising our children in a more democratic environment, which is a good thing. But then the thing is, we are raising them, and I was seeing another sort of joke out there that says, you know, you honey, I want you when you grow up to be assertive and speak up for yourself and all that. But right now, I just want you to be compliant and passive. Because, you know, they try those things on us.
Double standards.
Double standards. And so it's important for us to know that that process is what is important, and just have a bigger picture in terms of what do I really want in the long run. That's why for me, helping parents have a healthy relationship with their children is key. And that means that some things you are going to have to let go. Your in-laws and your siblings might look at you as spoiling your child, but you're following your scent because you have a bigger bigger picture. And I'm not saying you don't give consequences and all that, but where is the hurry? Like, why are we in a hurry to make sure our children talk a certain way, look a certain way at this age, and yet full development of brain doesn't happen until in your late 20s?
Imagine that.
Yes. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah. But we want to fix a 6-year-old like a carpenter so that now they can look good for who? So that's where our ego comes in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of letting go and faith. And when you think about how God parents us,
Yes.
that's how he does.
That's how he
Me, I am
does.
like, God is so secure. He is
Yes.
never in a hurry
No.
to fix us. You know, and there are so many stories, one after the other, you know, the prodigal son.
Yes.
I mean, there's just so many different beautiful stories about how God shows up as a parent.
Yeah.
Why don't we draw from him? Because the
Right.
lessons that we can get from him, unconditional love, we do not have that capacity.
No.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
And
Yeah.
it's not that he doesn't have consequences.
Yeah.
But we always think that if we release, that means we are raising spoiled children.
You know,
Yeah.
This is how they are
brats.
becoming. Yeah, we're raising entitled kids. And again, that is our
Conditioning.
background
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, when children feel connected to us, they respond to us better.
Yes.
It's
I
true.
mean, I've come from the carpenter mentality, totally carpenter mentality, you know.
Fire.
Yes. And I have seen the change, you know, from the time my son was 4 and I was the real carpenter because I was the expert and I had tools and tips and all that. But then when I stepped back and I began to really focus more on relationship,
Yeah.
on putting a pause on some things, on thinking about what consequences will bring the best lesson in this space, not just the most pain,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but the best lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really can say at 13 we have a solid relationship,
Yeah.
you know, and that makes me feel safe.
Yes.
It's not perfect,
Yeah, for sure.
but it's a safety place. I know he can come to me, you know, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want when he's 25, he's like, I can't wait to go see mommy over
I love it.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Me too.
There's so many dynamics.
Not
in that
ignoring your
space.
phone. You know,
Yes.
yes. Oh my gosh, here they go.
You know.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
Yes.
And you know, when you say that, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's my upbringing, but I feel like, because I've also related with my friends' mothers, I feel like mothers sort of like know how to do that a little bit better, you know, because if I look at my own mother and even my friends' mothers, the threshold, like for me, I the only thing that parts me and my mother's house is a fence.
Oh.
So my mom always passes by the house, "Mmepika nini?" And if she finds my guest, and then you know I'm a musician. So, "Nimesikia huku leo ni doof doof doof." You know?
Wow.
You
That's
know, but you see,
amazing.
she's so accommodating.
Yeah.
She's like, and then I introduce her friends, and then she said, "You know, me, I'm 62 years old. You see how I look, you know?" So she's so,
Oh, that's
she has space and room, and you've met my mom.
Yeah, I've met her.
She has space and room for a lot of people. So also just trying to understand that space of mother and father dynamics, single mother, single father, and not to rule out the other parents who are now
together conventional.
conventional situation, but just to address that, because I think that's where a lot of also the projection comes in, and then people will say, "Oh, you were raised from a single parent family." Like I've had people saying, "Hey, now you because you were raised as a single parent, now people who are raised from single parents turn out
Still
like
end
this."
up,
Yeah, you know. So how those dynamics of the single father, is there like a big difference between a single father and a single mother?
I mean, I'll still go back to the human, the person.
Right.
You know, I will still go back to the human. You as an individual and your commitment to work on yourself.
Right.
Because you have that experience with your mom, Vivian, but there are people who have traumatizing experiences with their moms.
Right.
So it's not so much the gender, but it's still your commitment to really work on yourself and to show up a certain way, because people have been hurt, people have mother wounds. Those are things I work on.
Right.
You know, I work with parents with, you know, mother wounds, father wounds, you know, and all that. So again, it's still back to is there
the
pain?
individual.
Is there pain? Can you
Personal responsibility.
Yeah, personal responsibility. But also keeping in mind that a child needs a male in their lives and they need a female in their lives. That's how God ordained for it to be. And we're also supposed to raise, we are also meant to raise our children in villages, in communities, and those communities need different role models. People of different ages, you know. So if you have your 12-year-old daughter, it's nice to have a 19-year-old, and a 25-year-old, then the 35 and the 50-year-old, you know. We that's how we're supposed to raise our children in community. And so one of the things I'm just passionate about is to help each individual in that community to be that one stable person. So can you imagine if I am one stable person and you are, can you imagine what a beautiful place our children will grow up in? You know, very, very healthy community.
In fact, one of my primary sayings is the betterment of society begins with the transformation of one individual. So, one individual.
Wow. You know, sometimes we feel like, you know, you've said, you know, the plan of God was the man, the woman, and the child. Like, it needs both people to be there. And then there's something else whereby we have a society that says, as long as I love my child, you know, I don't need to put in any effort. I don't need to, you know, it's like they don't say I don't need to put any effort, but then they say, as long as you love the child, you know, what is that okay, firstly, to say that?
I think, I don't know what the definition of love is there. You know, I would want to know, what do you mean when you say as long as
I
you
think
love the
providing probably the basics and you know, taking them somewhere on Sunday afternoon.
And a lot of us look at that as parenting, you know. And again, I get those kids like a 14-year-old struggling with mental health, experiencing issues with mental health, and the parents are like, but we've done everything.
Right.
And you see, the thing is, it's because for them, the gap they were growing up with was the physical material. And again, while unaware you're doing so, you're like, my child will have
everything.
And then now when you get there, then for you now, that is everything. And then the child is having challenges, anxiety, depression, self-harm, you know, and that's very common with kids these days. And so we need to redefine love, you know. What does that mean? Because again, it still has to come from you, first of all, learning how to love yourself. And then it flows out naturally. So I think that the challenge there would be, how does love look like for you? Because we are fundamentally emotional human beings as well, and we have to feed that part of us.
You know, I have so many questions. But I know that, you know, we're trying to wind up. So one of the things I'll ask, because, you know, I know fellow parents, and sometimes we talk and all these things, and there are parents in the times we are living in that believe that a child should grow up and choose their own belief system. So how do we speak into that space of what is good, what is not, what is right? You know, should you let the child choose? You know, it's like some say, I am not going to baptize my child, or I'm not going to take them for, because even when I was baptized, I didn't know, you know, or I'm not going to
figure your own gender,
male or female. I'm going to let my child, you know, find their own space. I'm not going to pierce their ears because when they grow up, they don't want, or I'm going to pierce them because I think they look cute. So I know all those are projections, but especially that one, because it rides into, you know, us growing up, it was Sunday school. You don't have there's no conversation. Nishakutolea nguo, Sunday school, and you're sent to that space. And right now, millennial parents, whew, God have mercy on us. We have a certain liberty.
Yeah.
For me, I'm teaching my kids to know their...
They can wear dreads.
Yeah, to know their own zen.
Yes.
And, and it's like... Yeah,
connect
because that...
to
connect to the universe.
Yeah.
So that inner thing, because I think even like, okay, I think for things external, it's like there's room for that. If you want dreadlocks, if you want what, because those ones are, they're a little bit more. But now the inner...
The internal value
Yes.
system.
Yes.
Yes. Again, I mean, from experience, I've seen that a lot of us, even as parents, whether millennials or Generation Z,
Gen Z.
X, as me, I'm an X, me, I'm not a millennial. And then the reality is actually most of my clients are millennial parents. Yeah.
Your Wendy.
No, it's because they are open.
Open.
Because they are
Right.
There's a rigidity with my generation.
Yes.
They're like, oh, this is how things are done. So it's not because they have issues. In fact, for us who are rigid are the ones who are, we need to loosen up a little.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's
so
more fire,
I
man.
enjoy
Revelation.
working with millennial parents because there's that openness of, I probably don't know everything. So I'm so back to what were we saying?
Universe.
So what I have realized is we also, as human beings, as individuals, we need to clarify our value system. Because when I'm clear about my value system, and it is not baggage driven, because sometimes we don't know what to do when our children question faith.
Yeah.
And they will question faith because this is the information age.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So there are several theories. My son will come and tell me there's this theory and there's this theory. And because I'm in a co-parenting situation, you say my dad and I have come up with a new theory.
Yes.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God. I have to be confident in my faith.
Yes.
That even if he asks a little bit out there, because I'm the solid person who is giving him consistent information, he will come back to what I believe in. And sometimes our children fight our faith because it doesn't align with how we are showing up.
Yes.
You talk about
There
kindness and then you're rough,
Yeah.
So what they're really
Being
fighting,
and doing,
being and doing.
There's a disconnect.
There's a disconnect. But when you are being and you're showing up, so I am very secure about my faith. And therefore, when he comes with all these questions, I listen. You know? And I'm like, okay, but this is what I believe. And it is important for me to show you this is what I believe.
Yes.
And so and then we do whatever practices that we do, whether it's going to sound, doing devotion, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm giving this to you because it is important to me.
Yeah.
When the relationship is good, they will listen.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Our children connect to us better when respond to us better when they feel connected to us. And so let's not feel threatened when they don't want to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just keep showing up and being, you know. And eventually, God will defend himself.
Yes.
I'm not here
It's true. It's true.
I'm not here to defend God to my
I
son.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I am so solid in my faith
Yes.
that I know that it's okay. Let him come. Let me ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we need to walk in that space of confidence.
Right.
That God is also capable of drawing these children to
himself.
Right.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, and I have one final question. This topic is so interesting because we are all, either we are being parented or we are parenting. So it applies to each and everyone.
That's across,
So we live in a culture whereby all of us are trying to show up how we are. And there's this thing called vulnerability. Yeah. And there's a scientist, her name is Brené Brown, and she teaches about about vulnerability. And sometimes, there's life. Life happens and it's happening. So you're parenting and you have a moment. So things like crying in front of your children, having like challenges, trying to deal with disaster or whatever it is. How do we have spaces where our our children see us for who we are in the different phases. Because remember, probably if you got your child in your 20s, so your child will see you in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, and all of these seasons have different things about you that show up. So showing up in that space for our children as we are, is there a limit? Because people, sometimes you think, if my children see me crying, they'll be traumatized for life. But then, I mean, our children see, hear, and feel things that we don't think they should.
Exactly.
So there's no hiding. You might even be behind the door, but they hear. I mean, they see and they feel your energy, and I think even they pick up the energy better than us. So how do we navigate that space of being, dealing with life stressors sometimes, and then having our children see us?
Watch it. And for me, there's absolutely nothing wrong for your child to see you in your realness and in your vulnerability. If it's not gonna traumatize them for life. You see, that's what the thing. We always think that this one moment is going to traumatize them for life.
Right.
I'd rather, if it happened, of course we want to be able to hold it together, and go cry somewhere else. But if it happens, I'd rather come and say, you know what, mommy was overwhelmed.
Yes.
Mommy, and it's beautiful when you name the emotion.
Yes.
Mommy was overwhelmed. Mommy was feeling really sad. Mommy was just stressed and angry, and she had an outburst, because we are also teaching them to do the same.
Right.
We are modeling how they will also be able to have relationships of vulnerability out there. So it's not a sign of weakness.
Yeah,
it's not.
I think that's such an amazing thing to say, even as we wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And guys, I mean, this conversation has been so edifying. I feel like this has just been a free class for me, and I'm so happy.
It has.
And Dr. Carol is doing some amazing things. And Dr. Carol, you would share your social media pages.
Yes.
And just some of the programs that you've designed. Of course, we're going to put your details in the description for parents to get in touch with you. Because we can be better humans. Just humans first.
Humans, yes. Yes.
So please.
Okay, so you can check us out at Dr. Carol Chakua on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Dr. Carol is DR, not Doctor, the full one. Carol Chakua, so all that one. But in December, I have a camp. It's called the Stawi Camp for Wellbeing that we are launching. And this is a wellbeing, it's a program for parents and children. So it's a 3-day program, 9th, 10th, and 11th of December. It's going to be physical. Yay, thank God we are back to physical sessions. But I'm going to engage parents in the evening. And then the 3rd day, we'll have a combined parents and...
Right.
Yes. What are we doing? We are normalizing conversations about emotions, about mental health, about feeling frustrated, about anger. That vulnerability you're saying? We are normalizing those conversations. We're saying it is okay. But these are the tools you can use. Rather than pour it out on someone when you're angry, you can actually... So we do identifying emotions, regulating emotions, just building your self-confidence in a way that is healthy.
Right.
We'll be doing a lot of exercises on empathy, kindness, all those things, because those are the things that we need right now. When you're talking about being human. So I'm inviting you, and I'm sure you'll put more information.
I will.
I'm inviting you 9th, 10th, and 11th of December, and check us out on our social media pages at Dr. Carol Chakua.
Woohoo!
Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome. Love it completely.
Yeah. Pastor L, parting shots?
I think that just what I said earlier, the greatest gift you can give your children is a healthier you. So that's the invitation, really, to just discover a healthier you and become a healthier you.
Yeah. I completely loved hanging out with you, my ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure right here at the Art, Heart, and Heart podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.